Hello everyone. This week on my presentation, I'll be discussing 4 additional alternative dispute resolutions. Early neutral evaluation, or E&E for short, is a type of ADR that's utilized a lot in the family court system. The textbook talks about the importance of assigning a third-party neutral member, usually a lawyer that's well experienced and knowledgeable in the dispute topic at hand, where the disputing parties can voice their arguments to this third-party neutral member, and the third-party neutral member can then share their opinions and suggestions and possible outcomes if this dispute were to be taken further down into litigation. The article I found on E&E also had similarities with the textbook regarding the importance of finding and assigning a third-party neutral member that was respected and trustworthy, where the disputing parties felt comfortable voicing their arguments and concerns and knew that there wasn't going to be any bias towards one another. One of the main takeaways I got from the article that wasn't discussed in the textbook was sometimes E&Es aren't the best ADRs to be utilized in certain situations. The article talked about like divorce cases where there might be some domestic abuse at hand. So one of the disputing parties might not feel comfortable or might not feel safe being in the same room as the other disputing party. So in those situations, this type of ADR wouldn't be the right to use. A dispute review board, or DRB for short, is another type of ADR that's commonly utilized in contractual or construction projects between like engineering firms and contractors and subcontractors. And these DRBs are usually formalized and set up right before or early on in the projects. The DRB article I found had similarities to the textbook in that they both talked about the importance of setting up the review board with individuals that were experts or knowledgeable individuals in terms of the contractual agreements regarding the project at hand. One of the things I took from the article is how trust plays a vital role in the dispute review board functionality. When all involved parties view the board with a lot of trust and confidence, then there's a greater line of communication that's open to the dispute review board, and the disputes are brought up on a lot more regular basis by disputing parties. And because of this, there's a higher satisfaction rate from these types of resolutions. A more formal type of ADR are called mini trials. These mini trials are a lot more structured in their approach to dispute resolutions. There are general rules and guidelines that must be used and followed. Usually there's a well-respected attorney or a retired judge that is used to hear the cases from the disputing parties. Or the disputing parties can also choose to have a 3-person panel that hears the case, where each disputing party selects one panel member that's sensitive to their arguments, and the third panel member would be a neutral member on the subject. Both the textbook and the article that I found talk about the importance of having the disputing parties engage in open dialogue face-to-face, which will help start the open sharing of information that will ultimately help and speed up the settlement process. The article went into further discussion and detail on the differences between mediation and mini trials. Unlike mediation, where the mediator shows no favoritism or opinion for either side of the disputing parties, in mini trials, the person or panel who's hearing the arguments will eventually give their opinion on the verdict on the dispute, which then increases the percentage of settlements reached, versus in mini trials where the individuals hearing the court case refrain from giving their opinions or a decision on the subject. So what I took away was that, just the realization of a possible verdict that might not be to one's favor in litigation pushes the disputing parties into further pursue a settlement outside of the courts. Final ADR is a summary jury trial, or SJT for short. And just like the previous 3 ADRs discussed in this presentation, this one is also a non-binding dispute resolution. Both the article that I found in the book talk about one of the benefits of utilizing an SJT is that they typically only take 1 day to complete, and they're able to obtain a verdict from the mock jury. The article that I picked also goes into further detail on how the judges have some control in deciding how many jurors to utilize for the summary jury trials, which may not always reflect the true size of the real jury, if the dispute were to enter litigation. One of the things that I found interesting in the article was how it discussed the potential for the SJT to cause some psychological distress or harm to jurors, given the deceiving nature of the SJT, since the jurors are not aware that their verdict is non-binding. One current news story I came across talked about a mini trial, and it was from the Hollywood Reporter. The news story was about the popular zombie show on AMC's The Walking Dead, and Robert Kirkman, the creator of the comic franchise and also one of the executive producers on the show, is suing over profit disputes with the network. The news article mentioned that the dispute will first enter a mini trial in the hopes of resolving some of the language in the contracts and what it actually means, and hopefully from this provide clarity on damages and possibly setting a path towards a settlement. Here are the references I used for my presentation. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing your presentations.